Chris, you have to be involved in the community. And if you're not, you get left behind. I got to tell you, I think the more I was getting involved with different groups, that's how our business just kept growing. That's networking, networking, network. The parents that are kids you're coaching, and it just keeps snowballing, Chris, and that's just the way that it was. But I never wanted to feel them to feel pressure to work for dad and mom. I didn't want that. I wanted to make sure they made their own decision.
Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today we have Mark Debiero, the founder of Lasting Impressions, a promotional products company out of Canton, Michigan, ranked in the top 8% of distributors nationally. Mark's story starts in 1976 when a 20-year-old kid working out of his mom's basement in suburban Detroit started selling sports gear. And as he'll tell you, it was Farrah Fawcett merchandise that really put him on the map. 50 years later, he's built a company with a 50,000 square foot facility, Fortune 500 clients, and partnerships with professional sports teams like the Red Wings and the Tigers. But what I'm most excited to talk to Mark about today is legacy. He and his wife, Barb, have raised 4 kids in and around the business, and he's been intentional about preparing all 4 of them to carry it forward. He also started Debiero Charities, which provides Christmas gifts and meals for over 400 children in the Metro Detroit area every year. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time today to come on to The Pursuit of Purpose.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Can you give us, you were just chatting with me before, the start of this company is like, if it's, to me, anytime I hear stories like this, it just makes it very relatable and exciting for anyone that's interested in being an entrepreneur. But you said that you, like, first of all, you started in your mom's basement, and then what happened after that?
Yeah. Chris, just to back up just 1 second, in actuality, I went to Olivet College, which is a Division III college in Michigan, that I started selling T-shirts and workout shorts and socks out of my fraternity house. And that is where it actually started, where the students would come to me for their gym, at that time, gym class gear. That's what we used to refer to it as. And once we got past that, my father passed away, and I went home to be with my mother. To be perfectly honest with you, she was just her and I living at the house. And so I kept that going, selling the T-shirts and shorts and socks out of mom's basement. And then I kind of got involved. I coached high school football, which gave us another avenue to the schools in Melvindale, where my wife and I had purchased a house. And once I got involved with the high schools, I then got involved with the athletic teams. And so the athletic teams, like softball teams and baseball teams. And so we start supplying merchandise for the teams, uniforms. And so the community was very, very loyal to me since I was a Melvindale person, brought up in Melvindale. And so that kind of expanded down at the ice arena. And what had happened, my wife was a school teacher for 35 years. But basically, I worked from 8 in the morning till 10 at night just by myself. I didn't have any employees. It was just myself. And kind of after maybe 2 years, I realized that my community involvement was important to grow, like the Debiero Charities, because we had a network of people then that were involved. And so it took me a while, took 2 or 3 years for me to really realize, you know what, you need to have this network of people to grow the business. And so that's exactly what I started doing. I helped with the little league. I was in charge of the umpires. I was the key club in the high school. I was involved with the kids there. So I met a lot of parents, and I kind of created a very nice network of people. And then came along Farrah Fawcett when we were in the ice arena. And so, kind of a funny story, to be honest with you. The salesman came in and said, "Hey, Debiero, you got to do this. He said, I says, I'm not selling that it's a sport shop. I was in the ice arena, which was a pro shop for hockey. I said, there's no way. He said, dude, you have to listen to me. I said, take it down the road. I'm not hanging Farrah Fawcett posters and this in the store. I said, that's not what it's about. I said, I sell athletic equipment. He came back the next week. He said, I'm telling you, you have to try it. This is a true story, Chris. So I said, all right, whatever. I go, but I'm not paying for it if I don't sell it. He said, I'm going to give you 50 shirts and 50 posters. If you don't sell them, I'll take them all back, and I don't want any money up front. I go, well, I can't pass that up, right, Chris? So the very first weekend, we had a Canadian and the U.S. had a tournament at the arena that I was in. And we sold every poster and every T-shirt. And I'm like, oh my God, it was kind of, it actually went on. If I had to guess, I would say about 6 months where it was really hot. The more that I brought in, the more that I sold. People were buying them for Christmas gifts. People were buying them, these hockey kids that are 10, 12, 14 years old, they're goo-goo eyes over the poster and all that. And I got to be honest with you, that was the first big hit that we had. I mean, we sold sticks and pucks and sharpened skates and things like that. So that was kind of the start of me thinking, why don't I try to invest in a retail store? And since my wife was teaching and I worked all day, I really wasn't spending any money. So we just kept reinvesting in the merchandise to go ahead and build our company. And then we got into a retail outlet. And it was a small outlet, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 square foot. And I ended up carrying Bauer skates and Converse shoes. I don't know if you remember those days or that's before your time, but Chuck Taylors were the shoes then. And we were in an area in Michigan that high school basketball was a very prominent sport. And so we kind of kept rolling with that also. So basically, that's how I could tell you, our first store was in 1981, and it was in Lincoln Park, Michigan, and which is a black community that was really into baskets. And the coach really took a liking to me. So he would send all the players down and I would give him credit because the coach would always back it. If hey, I'm sending a guy down to get shoes, just give them to him and I'll make sure you get paid, And so I built a relationship with that coach. His name was Lockton Green. But anyhow, so it turned out to be a really good relationship. And so we just built from that. And basically, I coached high school football along with this, going at the same time as a varsity football coach. So I kind of gained a network from there also. And I got to tell you, in our business, I think we've had a little bit of success for one reason. And the way that I used to have a network of people, Chris, you have to be involved in the community. And if you're not, you get left behind. And I got to tell you, I think the more I was getting involved with different groups, that's how our business just kept growing. And after the kids went to school, and we went through some tough times there. I got to mention that. I mean, when the auto industry got hit, we went downhill quick. And thank God for my wife being a teacher. She had a steady income and we had health care because of my wife, Barbara. I wasn't taking a check at the time. So we were just living off of her check, basically. And the first hit came in 1978. That's when the first downturn with the auto industry took place.
I would assume that, especially Detroit, I'm not an expert on the economics over there, but yeah, the whole city was largely funded by the auto industry.
Absolutely. 100% sure. Yeah. my family in itself, between uncles and my dad and brothers, they all worked at the auto industry. It's just the way it was, that was why we moved from Pennsylvania. I'm from a real small town in Pennsylvania. It's called Denora, Pennsylvania. That's the home of, Stan Musial. That's where he was from. And I played Little League football with, Kenny Griffey. He's, back from Pennsylvania where I'm from. But whenever the steel mill went down, my folks moved us all out to Michigan because of the auto industry. So that is a very true statement.
I'm just thinking about, like, my wife and I have 5 kids, and I love talking to entrepreneurs that have large families. What year? So you started this in 1976.
Correct.
Just because I think timelines and life events are interesting data points in a journey of a business.
Uh-huh.
So when it started in 1976, when did you get married? When did you have your first kid?
Yeah.
And then how did you incorporate just the kids and life events and elementary school and rec sports and all that stuff?
Well, first of all, Barbara and I got married in 1978. And that's when I was in the arena, by the way. So, we didn't have kids. I think for until 1982, I believe my son was, born, and that's my son, Mark. And so it was either 82 or 81. And, as the kids, we end up with 4 children, like I mentioned to you. And so as they got older through high school, they were involved in sports. And once again, I can't emphasize enough, I never kicked a soccer ball in my life, but here I am. I was a director of the soccer league at, the YMCA, working at soccer league. I didn't know how many, Chris, this isn't bullshit. I didn't know how many players were on the field, and they talked me into.
Do you know now?
Yeah, I swear to God, I'm not kidding. So anyhow, then my son played all the way through, but then my daughters played, and so once again, I can't emphasize enough. That's networking, networking, networking. And then, the parents that are kids you're coaching, and it just keeps snowballing, Chris. And that's just the way that it was. And so, once Mark was born in 1981, a couple years later, my daughter Angela, who is the president of, our company right now as we speak, and then my daughter Andrea, who handles our sales management, and my daughter Carla handles our online stores. But how we kind of got them acclimated, and this wasn't by design. I didn't plan on all of them getting involved, but what had happened was, the kids were about 10, 12, 14 years old on down. But what happened, the Red Wings won the, championship. And so what happened was we had the kids putting the, NHL stickers on the shirts as they were coming off the dryer. We sold, I think it was 75,000 shirts. And so they were helping us down the office. They wanted to make a buck. And here they are putting, the hologram stickers. You know how when you buy a shirt, how they have the silver sticker hologram on it? So they were helping us do that down at the office after school. So then they kind of took an interest to it. Then I had, people like Lance Parrish, who was a Detroit Tiger, catcher, and Milt Wilcox. And I had these players come down, to the office, to sign autographs at our retail store. And then the kids really got interested because they all were following sports. And so that's kind of how their interest started building in it. And, basically, when my son, he went to Western Michigan, he was the first one out. And here we are there. He had an accounting background, and he came down and he said, "Dad, until I find a job, why don't I come down and work with you?" And then after about a year, he goes, and I got to be honest, I really liked having him down there. It's kind of cool. Yeah, you go to work and you're with your son, I mean, it was kind of neat that we could share sports stories and blah, blah, blah after he graduated from, Western Michigan. And so he said, "Dad, do you mind if I stay?" Well, it just so happened our bean counter at the time was getting ready to retire. So I said, sure. And so he had an accounting degree. And so he stayed. Then my daughter, Angela, um, whenever she got out of school, she went for marketing and she started working down there to pick up. She had another job at like Buddy's Pizza or something. But she was kind of enjoying coming down to the office and being with Mark and myself. And she goes, Dad, I don't know why I just can't stay here. Meanwhile, I'm saying I'm paying all this money for these kids to go to college, right? And they're working catching T-shirts for me. What the hell, you know? And actually, my daughter Andrea was inspired by my wife Barbara to be a teacher, so she was going to be a teacher, and the exact same thing happened. And finally, all four of them were just working down there, and they have a very good relationship. The four of them have helped build the business, and so it's kind of cool, Chris, that although we didn't plan it that way, it just turned in to be that way. I mean,
You got two in the business and you're thinking like, maybe there is a chance here, or like conversations were happening. Not that it was like overly architected, but you started realizing, I'm sure at some point, like this would be pretty cool if we figured out how to run this as a family. Or was that genuinely never part of the conversation?
not really, because I've always said this same thing with sports. If they want to play a sport, fantastic. You start it, you don't quit. However, as time went on, I did realize, Chris, that, they could be a part of this, but I never wanted to feel pressure to work for dad and mom. I didn't want that. I wanted to make sure they made their own decision. And I got to tell you, I think it kind of just happened. I mean, I got to tell you, there wasn't any coaxing on myself or my wife's part. But I will say this, there's nothing like going to work and giving your daughters a hug and having a cup of coffee with them in the morning. And I was loving it, I mean, and then for them to get along the way that they did, it's quite unusual, being perfectly honest with you, Chris. That was the toughest thing whenever it got down and they were all getting through college. And I just said, I said, guys, there's only one way that we're going to be able to make this work, and you have to stay in your lane. And when I say stay in your lane, Mark's going to handle the production and the money. Angela's going to be involved in the marketing. And each one of them, I said, if we're going to make it work, this is the way it has to be. There's not any wavering whatsoever. And they kind of all bought into it, that you let Mark do the accounting, Angela does the marketing. To this day, that's how it is. And they stay out of each other's lane. They stay in their own lane. And so, Chris, knock on wood, we were very fortunate, Chris, that it panned out the way that it did. And to this day, they are their best friends, each of them.
What's the so in 2017, is that correct? That's when you sold the business?
I sold the business in, is that it's 8 years? Yeah, that's 8 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, it's 2017. Right.
So was that a difficult decision? Talk me through, like, you build this thing, your kids are involved, and are you involved at any part of it today, like on the board, or do
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
any involvement, or are you 100% out?
Oh, no. I'm still in it, 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week, generating revenue. I work for them on a commission, and I only, straight commission. I don't get any kind of benefits or anything. My gig was, I will still generate revenue for them, but I don't want any kind of salary or any kind of board, money, none of that stuff. I just want to work when I want to work. It just so happens that I've been fortunate. I'm not saying more than I should. I've been very fortunate, Chris, because of this network of people that we've talked about, building through the years, that they have stayed with me. And one of the things I did, though, I tell you, I thought was probably the smartest business move I've ever made. And that was, whenever I decided I was getting out, I had each kid go to the bank and borrow $25,000 from the bank, not from my mom or sister or anybody else. I wanted them to go to the bank so that they had skin in the game. And one of the things you haven't mentioned, I have one of the partners is Jeff Nowaski. And Jeff is a personal friend. I was personal friends with his mother and dad. I stood up in their wedding and he stood up in Barbara and my wedding. And so he is the fifth wheel with the partners. Okay. And because when he got out of Michigan State, he started on board with us. Very, very, very smart marketing person. And so anyhow, the five of them had to go and borrow money for the deposit to buy me out. And it wasn't real popular with Barbara at the time, but I just thought having them have that responsibility will see, okay, do they know how to borrow money? Do they know how to manage money and those type of things? And that's what I did. And Chris, that was, I think the transition at that point, they got to make that payment every month. They didn't get it from myself or my wife or any of my brothers or family. They had to go to the bank to borrow the money. And that's how we did it. And I had any advice for anybody that's going to have a family business, because I couldn't afford, I needed a retirement, Chris. So Barbara and I couldn't do without the money. So if we were going to retire and they were going to take over. So that was kind of a tough decision, but we had to sell it to them. I couldn't just say, okay, Chris, here you go. Here's a, $7 or $8 million business. And, now they've grown it into $12, $13 million. They've done a great job. They've done a great job.
It were me. They probably, and they appreciate that too.
I think so.
Better than just getting it handed over to you. It feels nice to buy something of value,
Well, think about it. Every time they make that payment at that time back then, think about it. They're like, holy hell, I got to get this. I got to make sure this thing goes, So so their work ethic really was strong. So it worked out well.
You have 4 kids that are all owners of the business now. And is there a difference between kids working in the business and your kids running the business now?
Yes, there is. The considerable difference is that everything's online. 90% of their revenues are generated online. And when I had it was pretty much nothing really was, and I shouldn't say nothing, that's not true, but minimal was online. And so where I'm a face-to-face guy, my personality lends itself to be in front of people, and they are more online skills. And so that's how what Angela does now, coming up with the online marketing. And I got to be honest with you, they really don't get in front of people, very seldom. But myself, whenever I am myself, I try to get in front of people every time I get a chance. Still my MO.
Is Lasting Impressions, is it part of a larger brand, or is that just the name that you guys came up with?
No, it was my brand from I started off that whenever I was in the ice arena, it was called D&D Athletic Wear. Well, once I bought a screening and embroidery shop, I changed it to Lasting Impressions, only because our customers that were sending us wholesale work, a lot of sports shops, I should say, I didn't want them to feel like they were I'm in competition with them. So I had to build trust with customers, Chris, that if you have Chris Sports Shop, that you still wanted me to do your decorating, your silk screening and embroidery, and not have to worry about me taking business from you. And that was all about trust. And that was a big part of my business, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me about the charity side. When did that start? And it sounds like it's continued to grow, and it brings a lot of purpose and joy for you guys.
Oh, it does. Now my wife will always correct me on this. I've always said that I started it with her in 1980, and she claims it was 1982. So I got to tell you, she does have a little better memory than me, I'll have you know. But so I'm going to say in 1981. How's that?
Yeah.
Because
What's the difference?
what happened was we sat down with the children. all four of them have said, hey, as opposed to you kids getting Christmas gifts, we have a family in Malvindale, Michigan, where I'm from, that has had come on a hard time, and she had 6 kids and her husband was deceased. I said, instead of you kids getting Christmas gifts, I want us all to go out and we're going to buy this family Christmas gifts. And that was in 1981 or 82, Chris. And they bought into it. So we said, okay, well, we can't afford to buy this family gifts and buy you gifts. So you guys got to all agree that we're going to do this. And they bought into it. And so we all went shopping and we bought the family gifts, and they were less fortunate and went ahead, and that's how it started. Then my sister Carla, who is now deceased, said, I really would like to buy, do a Christmas for a family also. So I went up to the high school and said, hey, give me another family that we can help out that's, could really use it, that they screened for me. And so they did. And then Barb's brother did the same. We just started having my relationships that people said, hey, Deborah, I would like to do that also. Can you help me with the family? So we all started in the community that we were brought up in. And because I was interacting with the community, Chris, we knew who had a hard time and who didn't, that came on some tough times. And so that's how it started. And now we do about 50,000 a year in gifts, and people send us the money. I don't promote getting additional money. It's all from the same group of people that trust what Barbara and I do, and they send us money every year, and that's kind of how it just kept going. Now, back then we would only spend $1,000 or maybe even 500 when Barbara and I started. I don't remember, to be honest, but it was a minimal amount. And now we have, it's kind of cool that they still send us money to take care of family. So it works out pretty good.
My son, he's 6 years old, and we, drive to school with him every day. And there's this one corner. There's a homeless person always standing there asking for help. And he noticed that, and he said that he wanted to use the money that he had earned to go buy, some snacks at the store. So got some chips and beef jerky and granola bars and stuff. And he made these little, Ziploc bags of like a snack bag.
Uh-huh.
And so every time that we carry it around in the car, and every time he sees someone out there, he's like, hey, can we stop? Can we stop? And I think that it's a cool reminder of the way that you started it, and this little act of kindness. It doesn't have to be some big major orchestration. It's just like, go talk to the school, see if there's a family that's in need, and then buy them a dinner, buy them a gift, do something. And I think that's a really cool origin story for that.
I agree with you 100%. And that's how it starts, right? I mean, right now that's embedded in him, to help other people like that. I mean, I think it's fantastic. It's nice to hear that you're doing that, and that will stay with him, Chris. I mean, I think it's fantastic. I do. And, the people on the streets holding signs, I mean, why not? If you can afford to throw something at them, why not? Right. That's how we look at it. So,
well, yeah. What else is on your mind? I feel like I always like talking to people at the, more experienced end of their career. And like, what advice would you have given? I'll say, for me, you don't know much about me, but I'm 35, got 5 kids. My wife and I it's a tech business. Yeah. What do you, our kids are 8, 6, 4, 2, and 8 months. So what's your advice to someone at the early or the beginning of the entrepreneurial journey with a family?
interesting how, as I explained to you, how it happened with me. And I think, how can I say this, that they grew into it without us forcing them into it. Chris, we never would say, hey, you got to come down to work and do this or do that or whatever. We'd bring them down so they were around it. And then, before you knew it, they would start asking us, hey, can I come to work with you? Can I do this? And that's how it actually evolved into what it was. The advice that I do have, though, is we never force them to do it. We never force them we want them to want to do it. And I got to tell you, so we promoted it in a way subliminally, right, without them knowing, but we kind of promoted it. I would bring things home from work and say, hey, we got to put these hats with this t-shirt and you bag them, Andrea. Mark, you seal them. And, that's how we would do it. And we never, when we would do stuff like that at the house, we never hesitated and have them do it, and we never paid them. But when they would go to the office and work, we would pay them. It might have been left for like $2 an hour or something. We just so they had some spending money. And I got to tell you, that kind of helped too. I got to tell you, they'll never, because then we say, okay, this is your money. You made $4 today. Put $2 away. You hold it, put away in savings, and spend $2 on whatever you want or whatever. That's how we used to do it. And but yes, I mean, without a doubt, we never forced them to do it, but we made the opportunity for them to make a couple bucks for things they wanted.
Yeah. I just was talking to someone else that said that when he turned 18, he got his contractor's license. His dad had a window cleaning business that he worked for his dad.
Yeah.
And he said, looking back, I realized that my dad's encouragement to have me start my own business and get my own license was because he wanted to pay me as a 1099 instead of a W-2.
I love it.
It's a good strategy. You gotta make sure that you're teaching your kids all the different tax strategies also.
I swear to God, that is awesome.
Yeah. What else?
Basically, I got to tell you, that's how it evolved. I mean, I don't have a degree. I mean, when my father passed, I was a sophomore in high school. And so when I went to Olivet College and just kind of didn't feel comfortable with my mom living by herself, and so I went ahead and I played ball at this little Division III school, played football. And after the second year, I said, I need to be home with mom and help take care of her. And so that's how it all started. But I selling the t-shirts, jocks and shorts and all that. It is kind of a funny story. Then I start selling a house and we'd start getting UPS trucks, and my mom would go, what the heck are you doing down there? So it was kind of funny, but hey.
Do you have any other siblings?
Yes, I have my brother. The oldest one is my brother, Angelo. He played ball at Notre Dame, and he was an All-American there. And then he got drafted. At that time, it was the the Boston Patriots at that time. He is 85 years old now, and he's still living. And then my brother, Jim, was a machine repairman at Ford Motor Company. And then my sister Carla had her own tech company, electronics. She sold circuit boards, and she did very well with that. She was supplying the auto industry with circuit boards. And then my brother Ralph, who's the next oldest, he worked at Ford plant in Woodhaven, Michigan, and he worked there 30 years and retired. And then I'm the baby of the family.
Number 5?
I'm number 5. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, came from a good-sized family and have 4 kids. Any grandkids now?
We have a dozen. We have 12 grandkids. Actually, I'm sorry. We have 11 grandkids, and we have a bun in the oven. So, God willing, hopefully we're going to have a 12th in September. And I think that might about be it, talking to the kids.
When you look back at the various stages, where do you feel like the best memories or the most fulfilling? Do you feel like you're at the most fulfilling time of life, or was there a stage that you really relished and wish you could go back to?
I got to tell you, when we first bought a cottage on a small inland lake in Michigan, and that was around 19, I would say actually it was probably around 1995 or so. And I have to tell you, that was my favorite time of the year because Mark and the girls learned how to water ski, and they were so into mom and dad. I mean, this was like a vacation every weekend. And at that point in our marriage, Barbara and I really didn't have big vacations or money to go on nice vacations, I should say. And so the cottage was our vacation. I really remember that because they're learning to ski, they fished, I mean, tubing and all this stuff that they did. Chris, no BS, they do it till this day. I mean, it's so cool and so fun that they bought into that once again with their families. So when they're bringing up the grandkids, I got to be honest with you, that is the highlight of, I think, Barbara and our life with the children. I mean, it's perfect. And we have our Sunday dinners that we have pasta dinners on Sundays like the old Italians do. And we do it. And when they bring those kids over, they're great memories because, when you have 20 people in the Sunday dinner, pasta dinners, right? You're like, oh, yeah, it's like,
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, brother. I'm telling you. So anyhow, it's all good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some wisdom in that I'm soaking in of just like, it's not about it's the consistency and just doing activities together over and over again. And they're, going on one big summer vacation for a week somewhere doesn't have the same impact as just like the memories of like, yeah, we do this every weekend. We go out, a little fishing here,
Right.
little water skiing, hang out in the sun. That sounds like an awesome time.
I think the reason that Barbara and I have the family that we have, I truly mean this from my heart. I believe the reason is from our Sunday dinners that every Sunday we said, hey, we got to have the Sunday dinners and no excuses, don't make plans, and going to the cottage on the weekend. I really do, because when we had the cottage, Chris, they didn't have a lot of kids their age to play with, so they had to play with each other. And so
Would you allow for the Sunday dinners when the kids were in high school or when on the weekends? Did you allow friends to get invited over?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. Oh, absolutely. No, that's once again. And
So as long as all the kids were there, they could bring a friend or whatever.
I think that's important also in bringing them up to the cottage. We'd say, okay, this week, Mark, you could bring friends. The next week, Andrea can bring, we did it that way that they could bring friends up to the cottage. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think once again, that's all part of it coming together where they're like, they wanted to be up there because they had a friend or they have their brothers and sisters. And so otherwise trying to sell them on that when they were in high school, because there was a couple times that they would have an excuse why they couldn't come up. We'd say, okay, that's fine. And then next thing you know, they're throwing a party at the house in high school, like what the heck?
Yeah.
So,
well, I always ask everybody 3 book recommendations. What books do you have for us?
okay, first of all, I do not read. Okay, so basically, I don't have any book recommendations for you, being perfectly honest. I don't want to try to be somebody that I'm not.
Do you listen?
Business-wise, I don't have them. Now, having said that, there's been books that I have read that are non-business. However, I've never been a reader, buddy. So I don't want to.
Do you listen to audiobooks?
Not really, because whenever Barbara and I or the kids, whenever we're driving somewhere, if we're going up north, at that time too, when I was younger, we were more interacting, as opposed to listen. But sorry I'm just being honest. I don't want to.
Fictional books that you liked?
I'll tell you as an example, I did read The Godfather. I had a few Italian books that I got into with The Godfather and Goodfellows and those type of things. I have done things like the autobiographies, like with in my younger year, I was always a fan of Coach Shula as an example from Miami Dolphins, and another one was Bud Grant. I kind of read those type of sports books, but to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a reader.
Well, I mean, the reason I asked that is like, where do you get your wisdom? Like where did you, obviously you were in the business. Where did you learn in like I feel like you want your kids to be bought in. Was that just 100% intuition? Was it like through newspaper or like business groups that you were a part of or mentors?
I really didn't have any mentors for that. I think it all just come back from the family of being so close together and enjoying being with them. And like I said, Chris, we didn't promote it. I mean, it just kind of, I don't know how to say it. To be honest, I don't know how to say it. We just kind of, from hanging out and them helping us whenever dad needed help and mom needed help down the office and things like that. They learned to like it, I guess. I don't know. I'm sorry, buddy. I know that's not good for your interview, but I need to be honest and tell you I'm not a book reader. I'm sorry. Yeah.
What about movie or show recommendation?
I watch all the mafia shows.
Nice.
Yeah. Listen, hey, you do get some wisdom from that, by the way.
What's the best one?
Oh, for sure. I think, well, there's like, God, I've watched so many of them, but I kind of was into The Godfather, obviously, and The Goodfellows. And once again, you don't get wisdom from those, but it's kind of enjoyment. I always did say this too, though. Chris, I've worked my butt off. And when I tell you, when I go home, I want Marky time with his wife, and with the kids. And so I wasn't that guy that once the kids went down, okay, pull out an accounting book and, do spreadsheets. And, that wasn't me. When I was home, I was with my wife and children, and whatever was fun for that day is what I would do. But, unfortunately, that's why I'm not the smartest, entrepreneur that you've interviewed. Trust me.
If someone wants to get in touch with you, what is your recommended method that they do that with?
Oh, they could reach me at my email, which I believe, yeah, you have. They're more than welcome to reach out to me, and they're more than welcome to call me also. My cell phone, I don't know if I gave you my cell phone. It's 313-600-6912.
I will say that it's just I always enjoy talking to entrepreneurs of various stages in different industries. My father-in-law and mother-in-law run a similar, it sounds like similar business, Allegra. You know the Allegra franchise?
I'm very familiar with them. Yes.
The transition right now of everything going digital and trying to automate more processes and stuff is fascinating to me. And yeah, it's a fun business. I like the business that my wife and I are in is more tech, and it requires computers, and there's not a lot of tactile hands-on stuff to do. So my kids actually love going to grandma and grandpa's business, and they get pens and hats and
Yeah.
all the stuff, that's cool because it's not that cool to see like a bunch of code on a computer screen.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. Well, I gotta tell you though, that's interesting though that like with you, like do they ever sit with you when you're doing your tech work or not really?
Just like right now, just watching over my shoulder.
Hey, well, how are you there, young lady? I like your glasses. I gotta tell you, I like your glasses.
Hey, he has glasses too.
What is your name? Look at her smiling. I'm digging the smile. What is your name, honey?
Yeah. He's not feeling 100%. That's why she's at my office today.
Oh, is
But
that right? Yeah.
yeah, but in general, yeah, I try and show like I break it down or to explain things to the kids.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just again the oldest is 8 right now.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to really like process and think
Right.
like whatever logically or deeply about what's going on
Yeah.
because it's all just like data and numbers and whatnot. So
And do you guys still I would imagine with them being so young, so you're still able to have family dinners with them?
oh yeah,
Obviously,
we
yeah, I mean, because
probably
you and the wife,
every
I mean, you guys, your schedules allows you to have all of you together when you have dinner. That's a big part too, Chris. I think it's awesome, and because sometimes with dads working a different shift than mom, sometimes it's tough for them to have the family dinners and that, and you
oh
know,
yeah.
one of the big conver.
We always do high, low, buffalo.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the high of your day, the low of your day, and then the surprise.
Right, right. We used to always ask, I never forget the one time we asked, okay, so what did you do today? And my daughter goes, oh, I put my underwear on, then I put my pants on. I'm like, I hope you put your underwear on every day. My wife and I always remember that, right? Like, oh my God, so it's just kind of funny. Those dinners, buddy, I mean, that's huge. I really believe it's huge. So, well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And it was nice chatting with you, Chris.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Chris Kiefer, and my mission is to champion the relentless pursuit of purpose. And what that means to me is to be an example, a champion, someone that is in the trenches, working and showing and winning and trying and failing in how to pursue a deeper and more meaningful life with the people that I love, with my kids, with my friends, with our family, and also just be a champion and example of entrepreneurship and following my passion and doing what I believe I'm called to on this earth. And so if that inspires you in some way, please share this episode. If you want, like, subscribe, share, whatever, do all the stuff. It means the world to me to get this message and get these guests that I have out there. And if you're interested in any of the book recommendations or looking up other episodes, the movie list, you can visit my website, chriskiefer.com, for all the details on the show, and also check out the Boolean review software, as well as the Boolean automation consulting company that I own for home service businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.